And earlier this week, President Biden called Russian President Vladimir Putin a war criminal. Then on Thursday, at a St. Patrick's Day event, he had this to say about Putin. Take a listen.
The generic point is that, now you have Ireland and Great Britain and the Republic standing together against a murderous dictator, a pure thug who is waging an immoral war against the people of Ukraine.
A murderous dictator, a pure thug, along with being a war criminal. Russia responded by saying they had the might to put the United States in its place. I asked Charles Bierbauer about the war of words and how it could affect the situation. Bierbauer lived and worked in Russia for many years.
In a rhetorical war, JR, as well as a shooting war that's taking place in Ukraine. That's not in and of itself unique. We've had lots of harsh words going back and forth between Moscow and Washington over the decades of the Cold War. It certainly does seem to take it in a slightly different direction when President Biden refers to Mr. Putin as a dictator or as a war criminal. I'd probably start to differentiate context in some degree. So the war criminal remark on Wednesday was in response to one of those questions that journalists like to shout at the president in crowded situations. And he actually didn't quite hear it correctly the first time as he went back. But he was asked, is he a war criminal? And he said, sure. That's political rhetoric. That's not a legal definition. There are legal definitions for what a war criminal would be. And it's evident from things that we've been reading that not just the US, but international bodies, the United Nations, the tribunals that exist for judging when someone is or is not a war criminal are making assessments as to what Mr. Putin has done. But I would differentiate between the political rhetoric and that which might fall into legal definitions as to what is a war criminal or even a murderous dictator. That's completely rhetorical and political. But the intent is clearly to keep Mr. Putin isolated, to treat him as a pariah, and to encourage, I think, other nations, other leaders to take a similar view that Mr. Putin and the war he has started cast him aside and cast him out of the mainstream of global leadership.
Well, right now we have much more on the war in Ukraine on our website, WLTX.com, or the News 19 mobile app.